I hate reading. I can't read. Reading is boring. This is too hard. Why do I have to read? All of these negative statements that I'm quite sure a lot of you have heard from your children, or if you're an educator, from students, you've heard it somewhere. And that negative self-talk is something that we have to constantly address. My name is Miss Sasha, and this is the Reading is Freedom podcast, where we come to unlock our minds and reclaim our power. So, what I am talking to you all about today is mindset shift. I truly believe mindset shift is a conversation that we cannot have enough of, especially in the Black community. And here's why. Remember, y'all, we have been conditioned as a people to believe that we are less than. We have been conditioned to believe that we must start our minds from lack or a fixed mindset. The I can't. All of this conditioning comes from being oppressed. And I talk about this because this is very important, because in order for any type of change to happen, we must believe it first. And I know it may sound cliche to some of you who are listening. Yeah, you got to believe it to achieve it and all that, but that stuff is real. It really is. If you have been around people who you've seen them self-sabotage, they're doing things where you're like, wait a minute, you have all the right tools, the conditioning, you got the environment, you got the resources, all that, but you're still not making the moves. What is the problem? The problem is the mindset. And this is why we hear our babies saying things like, I can't read, or I hate reading. Why do I have to read? Because they have been conditioned to believe that they literally can't, that this is something that is not for them. And this is why they are constantly thinking that reading is something that is a negative. And so they're like, well, why even try to do it? And so, what I also want to remind you all, though, is our children are paying attention to what we do to more than what we say. All of that notion of do as I say, not as I do, no, that has never worked. Never worked. They are watching us. So even though we may think, oh, okay, we're just going to tell them, why don't you go pick up a book? You're not going to be on that device. I know you home this summer. You think that you're just going to be on this computer or on your tablet and on your phone and all of that type of stuff. It's like, okay, you can tell them that all day long, but if you as the adult, you're not modeling that. They don't see you with an open book. They don't see you reading or writing, by the way. They don't see you listening to a book on audio, reading different articles, whether you get the physical newspaper or a magazine, or you're reading something on your phone. They don't see you doing that. They see you always scrolling, or, you're not doing anything that looks like it's literacy based. They're going to be like, well, why do you keep always trying to tell me? And especially as they get older, because as our kids get older, they not only are they watching, then they're also going to start asserting their independence and like, hey, you're telling me to do this, but I don't see you doing it. Okay? So these are things that we have to make sure that we're paying attention to as adults. But that mindset, that lack mindset, that fixed mindset, it can be corrected. Our children do not have to say these negative things to themselves. In this particular episode, even though I'm focusing on children right now, and the reason why is because, especially with our babies being out of school now, and they don't have to read, right? They're not being put in a position where they got to study for a test, or they got to turn in a report, or they got to write some type of essay. Um, we still have to make sure that they are being inundated with literacy, especially in the summer. Just like I talk about constantly that summer slide, in which our children's reading levels tend to dip down in the summer because they are not engaged or immersed in some type of enriching literacy activities. But first, like I said, we have to deal with the mindset. That must shift. And just because we're dealing with it and we're talking about it once or twice, that does not mean that we are not going to have to revisit it. Just like I said in the beginning, we have been conditioned to believe that the things that we need to do or the things that we want to do are not attainable. We have been conditioned to believe that any goals that we have, that they are unachievable. It's too big. Why are you thinking too big? That's doing too much. Always that lack mindset. And of course, as we know, we hear that a lot from each other, even though it started from those who oppressed our ancestors. And of course, all of that oppression and that mindset has been transferred from generation to generation. But unfortunately, we do it to ourselves more so. Other folks ain't got to do it no more. We do it to each other. When you know what I'm talking about, when you're thinking about that big idea, you're thinking about something that you want to do, you got maybe an idea for a project or a program, or you may want to travel somewhere, or it's something that you want to do that it seems out of your reach. Don't let you say something to somebody who's in the negative naysayer mindset. They're gonna question you though. How you gonna do that? You sure you gonna do that? I don't know. They ain't gonna let you do that. So how you gonna do that? Because see, I remember somebody, you hear all the, and the next thing you know, you like, man, forget it. And that's what I'm here to remind you, just like I'm reminding myself. We have to constantly, consistently be telling ourselves, no, it can be achieved. No, we can do this. Yes, we can do that. All right. So I want to give you guys, though, 5 ways that we can help our children in particular. And again, like I said, this is for adults too, on how to shift our mindset from the lack to the growth mindset, to the abundance mindset. Yes, get used to saying that word. I don't care if folks are, oh, here we go again. You got the abundance. We got to think abundantly. You're damn right we do. Yes, we do. And you better tell yourself that all the time. I'm telling you, because if you don't, you're going to always hear that negative talk, that stankin' thinking. In fact, what prompted me to even do this episode is because when I have a contract with a child care center, and I've been going in there doing literacy activities with the pre-K and the preschoolers as well as the school agers. And one of the activities that I did with the school agers is I read the story, Abdul's Story. All right, and Abdul's Story, if you're not familiar, it's a book about a little boy named Abdul. He loves to tell stories, but he struggles with writing the stories down. And then there's a guest teacher who comes in the class who winds up being like his personal motivator, someone who is cheering him on because he started doing the whole negative self-talk. I can't write like them. I can't write these letters. I struggle with telling these stories. But that mentor came in with that cape of positivity, that cape of hope, that cape of, yes, you can do it, that cape of growth and abundance, and said, oh, check it. You want to see my writing? Look at this. But guess what? I'm going to continue doing it. And you can do the same thing because everybody has a story. And so the kids and even the teacher in there, they was feeling that story. They were like, oh man. And so then afterwards, I had them do an assignment where I gave half the children a piece of paper that said lack. And I gave the other half a piece of paper that said growth. And then I wanted those who had the lack paper to say something just like how Abdul would have said in the story. I can't write this. Nobody wants to hear my stories. Nobody wants to listen to the stories from the community that I come from. I don't know how to write these letters, right? So I wanted them to say that. And then the person who had the growth paper, they had to counter that with something that was positive and say something like, no, you can write. All you have to do is keep trying. Don't give up. You have a story to tell. I love your stories. I've heard your stories before. All you have to do now is just continue to practice writing and you'll get better. You see that? Those little, small, little instances. It wasn't something that was major with that particular assignment, but they felt it. They got it and they can relate. And so that's why I'm here to tell you guys. This is something that is an ongoing thing. That's why I said in the beginning, we can't get enough of these conversations about mindset. Even as we're doing things, we have to make sure that we are telling ourselves over and over again, you got this, right? I'm quite sure those of you can relate and you understand what I'm talking about. You know how you start getting in a funk and you start thinking like, man, oh my goodness, man, this is too much. But then that positive mindset gets on your shoulder. You better listen to it. And when it's saying, yes, you can do this. What's stopping you from doing it? You are unique. You are special, right? So these are the things that we have to make sure that we're constantly doing for ourselves. And then we will transfer that to our children. All right. So here are 5 ways that we can build that positive growth mindset, right? So the first one is, so for example, just like I said, if a child is like, I can't read, right? Or even if they say, I hate reading, you can add the word yet. Okay. So if they start to do all that negative talk and they say, I can't read, you say, I can't read yet, but I will be able to read very soon. Very simple. That's it. Or if they say, I hate reading, tell them that no, you haven't found a book yet. You haven't found a book yet that you really like. You just have to keep searching for that book that you like. All right? Real, just keep it straight to the point. Okay? You ain't got to give them a big old lecture, but straight to the point, reminding them, no, we're not going to stop with the lack. We're not going to stop with the fixed mindset and talking about some I can't and I hate and all of that. All right? So that's the first one. Number 2, we're going to make sure that we are praising efforts and not results. Instead of focusing on reading levels, right? Instead of focusing on, oh, okay, this child got this grade, you should be getting this grade or whatever. I want to see you get an A or whatever the case may be. Or you need to be at this particular reading level right now. What you do is you praise the efforts. So you compliment your child on those small wins that they are achieving throughout the day. So, for example, say if you know that you want them to do some more reading in the summer and they don't want to, give them a challenge. Say, you know what? I want you to at least read a paragraph a day. Just start off with a paragraph. Start off with a page. And then after they do that, you tell them, great job. I'm proud of you. Look at you. I know it was a struggle, but you persevered. You did it. And then you can challenge them for, after the first week, you can add on a paragraph or maybe add on another page. Just gauge, of course, how your child is doing. And what I would recommend as a parent or a caregiver, you read along with your child too. All right. So that's showing them that I got you. I am your biggest cheerleader. I want to see you thrive. I want to see you change your mindset around reading. Number 3, like I mentioned earlier, replacing the negative self-talk with what? Positive self-talk, right? They should be saying things like, I am a reader. I can read. I am a writer. All right? These are things that we want them to say. I love books. And guess what? They may not love books. We know they don't love books. But what we're doing is we are conditioning. We have to counteract the negativity that has been beaten down on our community for centuries. And it's not going to happen overnight, y'all. It's just not. I know we wanted to, and trust and believe, we have made great strides in our community, but we've had some gaps, y'all. And what I'm trying to do is help us fill in those gaps. Number four is celebrate the progress, not the perfection. Okay. So, for example, it's kind of along in line of the one where I said praising efforts and not results. But so what you can do is you can go a little further than this, right? In celebrating the progress. You can put a chart on the wall. Have your child put a star or, whatever little, star or some type of sticker, right? For each day they finish a chapter or learn a new word. Yes. So remember, even with literacy, like I talk about, it's not always about them uh, having to like finish a book in its totality. Especially, and I'm talking to my folks out there who you are literally trying your best to get your child to even just open up a book. And so even if you're doing something like, say, if you guys as a family had a word of the day, all right, that is a great way to get your child to get into literacy. Turn it into a family activity. Say, okay, our word of the day is accountability. And then you talk about it, right? Then you can have your child use it in a sentence. And they can put a star on this visible chart to see their progress. And then you can have them choose some type of gift at the end of the week because I do believe in incentives, especially when you have that child who is still struggling to be able to do this on their own. You got to have incentives. All right. Incentives, there's nothing wrong with it, in my opinion, as long as you're doing it in a healthy way. Meaning what? You have to make sure that they are achieving the goal that they said that they would achieve. So if you guys have the agreement that they are going to read that particular chapter a day, it's going to be one chapter or one paragraph or maybe a few sentences, then yes, they have to keep to their end of the bargain, all right? Because they do have to learn about accountability because we are all in the business of, again, making sure that we are changing our mindset. We want our children to understand at an early age that they have to earn, all right? They have to be able to put in that work. And I believe the earlier that we teach our children that, the better off we'll be later on. And then the fifth one is seeing mistakes as learning opportunities. This one I love because it reminds me during my tutoring sessions, I am a pre-K through fourth grade reading tutor. My tutoring business is ABC Learn Tutoring. I'm also an Orton Gillingham certified dyslexia tutor. And so during my sessions, I have this, it's like a card, right? I call it a card. It reminds you of those, it looks like our regular like signs that you see when you're driving, like a street sign. All right, so that's what it looks like. It looks like a street sign and it's orange. And it has on there, it says, mistakes help you learn. And so I'll put that on the table during the sessions. And of course, for my kiddos who are still learning how to read, I'll read it to them. And it's almost like literally they feel like more empowered because they feel more comfortable. They feel like, wow, okay, so I'm not going to get in trouble for making a mistake. Oh, I'm not dumb. Oh, I don't have to worry about getting laughed at or a snicker because I made a mistake. I said that word wrong or I fumbled over the word or, I didn't pronounce it correctly. It's like, no, because mistakes are learning opportunities. So instead of saying things like to them immediately, that's wrong, no, you say to them things like, well, let's try that again. Or how can we improve upon this? How can we make this better? All right. So, with that being said, I hope that this was helpful. I wanted to keep it short, concise, straight to the point. Again, because this conversation about mindset, about taking us out of the lack, the fixed, and moving us into the growth and the abundance mindset, This is something that we are constantly and consistently and continuously, we must have these conversations not only with each other, but with ourselves, especially if we are in the business of freeing our minds, all right? So I thank you all for listening to another episode of the Reading is a Freedom podcast. And remember, we are here to unlock our minds and reclaim our power. I am Miss Sasha, and remember to please keep reading for at least 30 minutes a day. And remember, reading is freedom. Peace. Right. Thank you guys again for listening to another episode of the Reading is Freedom podcast. And I just want to remind you all that I am a pre-K through fourth grade reading tutor and an Orton Gillingham certified dyslexia tutor. If you're looking for that help for your child is struggling with the foundational skills in reading and writing as well, please reach out to me by going to abclearntutoring.com and click on that free reading assessment today. Also, I'm the founder and executive director of ABC Read, which is a nonprofit organization that I started over 10 years ago with our mission to develop and nurture a culture of literacy in our Black and Brown and underserved communities. You can go check out the work that we've been doing continuously over the years by going to abcread.org. And if you feel so compelled and you are just so inspired and love the work that we are doing, we highly recommend that you donate as well. Also, I want to share with you guys, I am a co-author. I have co-written this book last year with 9 other amazing women. This book is entitled Her, Healed, Empowered, Resilient. My chapter is Escaping the Fear Trap House. We come together to share our stories of resilience, pushing through the adversity, the pain, the struggle. And this book, I truly believe, is life-changing. In fact, you can go to Amazon and copy a copy right now, and you can read the reviews that our brothers and sisters, okay, even though this book is targeted for our young women to our elderly women, however, my brothers, you can read it as well, or you can just get a copy and gift one to the beautiful women in your lives, all right? So again, healed, empowered, resilient, her. All right. And also, as you see the merch here and what I have on here, you can go to readingisfreedommovement.com. Readingisfreedommovement.com. If you're interested in getting your hoodie, we have shirts, we have mugs, because we believe in order for us to be able to combat illiteracy, we want to spread the message, all right? And what better way to do that than to wear merch that promotes literacy, promotes reading, all right, in our communities, okay? And I just want to share with you guys the book that I've been rereading. This is JD and the Family Business, okay? So we have a book club going on for our youth. Right now, we have it virtually, and it has been totally awesome, all right? And so they have been reading this book, and I've been rereading it along with them. And I highly recommend that you guys get this book for your babies, okay? This book talks about entrepreneurship. It talks about family. It talks about supporting our young people. And also making sure that when we see the gifts and purposes that our children are displaying, we see them with their talents and their gifts, that we should nurture and cultivate that and support it and let them know that they can turn that into a business, okay? All right, y'all. So that being said, thank you all again for listening to another episode of the Reading is Freedom podcast. Please make sure that you like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, and leave some comments as well. All right. Reading is freedom, y'all. Peace.